Aloha! I'm here to do a color update. This could very quickly go into the weeds, so I'm going to try my very hardest to stay on point and on task and just keep it very high level, because let me just put this out here right now. I am not a cosmetologist. I'm not a licensed cosmetologist. I do not have a license to do hair. I am just a very educated beauty school dropout from way back in the day. There are so many different resources out there. It really is a science though. This is a science, and you can easily kill some hair just as quickly as you can make some hair beautiful. If you are going to try any of these techniques, I highly suggest you do what I do on every single dye, even including my own hair when I was doing that, and just take a very small test strip in the back where you could cut it off if you needed to, that nobody's gonna see, and try out whatever concoction you have planned on that test strip first. I can't say that enough. So with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you what I did in order to get my wig that was very, very dark, to get it from the dark color to this color. The picture on the left is the before, the picture on the right is the after. It looks more highlighted in certain lights. At first I was thinking I didn't go light enough, but now it actually is very similar to my original hair color. I'm kind of digging it. I think I might just leave it alone and then go light with another one. What I did to do this, first I wanted to break that level 4. We're looking at colors. And this is what I said in reference to a color ring the other day, is that it drives me crazy when I see references to colors that are above a 10, because when I'm thinking of colors, I'm always thinking of levels. This is like an international level system for hair. Up here is the dominant underlying pigment. When you lighten it, this is the color that is left behind. Again, I'm gonna try and stay out of the weeds here, but basically, let me back up. First thing I do when I'm coloring my hair is I try to determine what color it is in its current state. And then I have to determine, did it get colored to get to that current state, or is it virgin hair? So in this situation, this was virgin European hair. And it really is, because it lifted exactly how I would expect it to. So good job, Alan. You sold me some great hair. Level 4 means that its underlying pigment is going to be like that copper red color. So I know that when I'm wanting to lighten a level 4, I'm going to need to use something to counteract that red, unless I want that red. I didn't. I'm going to just keep it right there. I didn't want the red, so I used this Dwella 7AA, and this has a green base, which means base color of this color is green, and green is opposite of red on the color wheel. So when you hear about people using toners, it's usually to counteract a tone that they don't like, and it's usually when someone's wanting to go platinum blonde and they've got yellow in their hair, but they want it to be more white. So you'll hear about people, or maybe like they just want a really pretty cool blonde, but they don't like those yellow tones, and so you'll hear about people using blue shampoos or purple shampoos, and to try and counteract that. Purple counteracts yellow, blue counteracts orange. Oh, here we go. Here, I'll just stop talking and show you this. So the opposite on the color wheel is what's going to counteract it. Since I knew I was going to try and counteract red, because I didn't really want any red tones, I used a color with a green base. Now, you're probably thinking, why did you use color? You could have used bleach too. Yes, that's true, and I ended up using some bleach to go ahead and add some more height, these blonde tones that you see in here. But the brown, I wanted to kind of have a very multi-dimensional color, and I didn't want that dark color on there all over the place. I wanted it to be mostly that brown, chocolate brown color, but for added dimension, I went ahead and just highlighted this color in, so it would break it up. And I'm gonna go ahead and insert a picture now. On the left, you can see the test strip. On the right is the original. Following, I did take a video after I foiled all of the hair, but before I got to the front part. There's a silk base in this wig, and I'm glad I took this video because I forgot to talk about it when I recorded all of this. So in the silk base, because I was applying color, I wanted to be really cautious to not get that color on the silk itself. So I'm showing you that I applied the color everywhere else and left the 5x5 silk for last because I wanted to go ahead and take my time on that. And when I applied it, I just wanted to get it right on the hair and not get dripping on the silk base. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if it doesn't. This is how it turned out after the highlights. You can see it still has that level 4 dark for some dimension, but then there's a lot of chocolate all foiled in there. 40 volume is scary for people who haven't used hair color before, but if you're knowledgeable and you know what you're doing, it is necessary to achieve the level of lift that you're trying to go for, because in order for me to get to that chocolate brown that I wanted, I had to use 40 volume to take it up 3 levels. So what I did after I weaved the highlights in, and I used this with 40 vol, and also I guess I'll point out is that if this weren't virgin hair, it wouldn't have worked because color doesn't lift colored hair. It only lifts virgin hair. Just gonna put that out there. There's so much I want to say, and I could just, my ADD could take me all over the place, but now it only takes you so far, and you either have to go in with some bleach or use a higher color and try and meet somewhere in the middle. But I'm fine with bleach. So what I did after I really liked the highlights, the way that they turned out, is I weaved in some foils of bleach. Again, I used 40 volume because I am cautious and I understand to check it often. So I used the 40 volume with a blue base bleach. I don't have it down here right now, but I'll see if I can get a screenshot from Sally. But it's basically just one of the, I think it's a Salon Pro. I used Schwarzkopf as well, but I ran out of Schwarzkopf halfway through this, and I went on with the Sally, and it turned out just fine. Again, every step in this process, I tested on the nape first, and then once it turned out well, then I went ahead and proceeded on up and around. I foiled all of my hair when I was processing it because it's cold inside my house, and bleach, especially once it dries, it's sun processing. So the foil helps to keep the moisture in there and to keep it processing. So I moved it out into my garage at the end of the day, but also be careful with that because too much heat can cook it. I just didn't want to apply a blow dryer. I thought natural heat would be good. It was warm, but not too hot in my garage, so I just checked it every 10 to 15 minutes once I started to do that. I literally do test every single piece of this process. So here's a test of the foil with the bleach. Here's how it looked when I rinsed it out. Next, you're gonna see how it looked when it dried. You can see that it could be very deceiving. So it's very important to be aware of how your dried result is gonna come out before you do anything. I went ahead, I liked that, I knew I could cover it, so I foiled everywhere else before I went in with the toner, which I also did test the toner on its own before I toned everywhere. I mean, unless you completely fry the hair, you're gonna be expecting to tone your hair after you use bleach every single time, unless you like an orange, red, copper color, because you're going to pull orange and red after using bleach, unless you use a color, which if you lift with color, it tones. It's a 2-in-1 kind of process, but when you use the bleach, you have to then do either another color with maybe a 10 volume, so it's only depositing rather than lifting and depositing, or you have to use bleach and then a toner. Again, I use 10 volume, some people use 20. It's not necessary. I write down everything that I do so I can reference it later. So if you are going to be risky and try to do your hair, I suggest that you write down your notes. Plus it helps you to write down your application times and whenever you're done applying, so you can kind of help process what you're doing. I use T18 and T14 with a 10 volume. And I watched it very carefully because I didn't want it to go dark. Those toners are meant to just deposit colors to cover the tones. So if you leave it on too long, especially if your hair was lightened to like a really, really pale yellow blonde, you can end up with purplish, bluish type of hair. Luckily for me, it just ended up turning out really nicely. I'm very happy with this. In fact, hey Addison, will you bring me the other over there that's hanging up. I will show you another hair project that I'm in the midst of right now while we're talking color. I'll talk you through what I've done with her. So, thank you. This hair I got from the same girl that I got the fall that I was talking about. So I got this. It is also human hair. I wasn't sure if it was virgin or not, so I went ahead and did my test strip, and instead of doing lightening with color, I knew I was gonna want to bleach her a little bit. So I just went in with the big dogs and I just went ahead and used some bleach. So for her, I applied 40 volume with my bleach. I started with a few foils on the nape just to test it, and it started coming out really, really well. And then I went ahead and rinsed it out. I think I let it process for about 45 minutes. And I know it's really hard to tell when you're dyeing hair if it's the right level of blonde. So if you're not comfortable with bleach, I would say get your go to a beauty store maybe and get some really, really cheap human hair that's going to be the same type that you're planning on playing around with, and try your hand at bleach before you try it out on a wig, because it is hard. It's taken me a really long time to get used to that. And this right here is not toned. So all I did was bleach and wash her out. I still need to tone, but I just wanted to show you how it turns out. I mean, I suppose some people would rock this, but it's just a little too orange and brassy for my taste. So I guess I should maybe retract my words. You don't need to tone every single time you bleach if you like that kind of coppery color. I don't. I prefer cooler colors to warm colors. So I am going to end up toning her. But this is an example of what she would look like after, bleaching some hair and before you tone it. Because this is toned already. I hope this helps. I feel like I talked in circles a few times, and there's so many more things that go into coloring hair than this. I will try to share more examples as I do them, but let me know your questions, thoughts, feedback as usual. And if there's anything in specific, I know some of you have shared that you would like to see me toning a blonde, so I'll make sure that when I tone her, I show you what I did and how I did it, which basically the toning is you just apply it all over, so that'll be a really quick video. But I know I've also heard some of you talk about wanting to take a blonde to a darker color. Maybe it was a kind of like an auburn red, where it's not really even this blonde, but it's more of like a reddish color, and so you kind of want to take it to a cool brown. That is also a science, and I'll share with you my eBay wig, which I'll go ahead and insert some clips here. What I did with that auburnish color is I did what I call lovingly color corrected. On that wig, that was my eBay wig, I determined that the roots and dark strands were a level 6-7 in auburn tone. Both these colors are going to be demi colors. I used 3 ounces of a 6N and 6 ounces of a 7A. The 7A is an ash. The 6N is a neutral. The reason I used the 6N was to make sure that I deposited the colors that were pulled out, assuming that auburn was a darker hair and it was lightened, almost as if it was never toned. But I used a neutral and I used a 6 just to be on the safe side. If I had used a 7, it might not have covered it all the way, but I really wasn't wanting to go that dark. So I also used the 7A for a 7 ash to kind of pull it up a little bit more with that ashy deposit. And I used the ash because I wanted a cool result. I didn't want to just neutralize it. I wanted it to be more cool. So I used both of those, and then I mixed them with the activating lotion because it was a demi, so I didn't use 40 vol, I used activating lotion. I ended up doubling the recipe to cover all of the hair, but that was my initial test. Also, I guess I should note that when you are gonna dye your own hair, don't mix a whole ton at once, especially if you're gonna be foiling, trying a foiling technique. I'm super slow at foiling, so I always mix just a little bit, and then I either mix some more if wanting to keep going, or I apply in sections and then I rinse out and apply the next section. The reason for that is because as soon as you mix, the color starts, your timer is starting, your expiration time on that is going, and it only processes for so long. Only mix what you need, and you can always mix up more later. I hope this helps. I really, again, don't want any of you to try dyeing your hair if you're not comfortable. I don't intend to have anyone coming to me crying after this, because I will definitely be like, why didn't you do a test strip? Because I do that on all of mine. But I'm only sharing this because so many of you have asked for it, and why not share what I've learned with you? I again can't stress this enough. Not every formula is going to work on every hair, and that's why people are against box colors. It's not because box colors are the devil or anybody's trying to be super fancy and say you only have to get colors, because honestly, my Wella colors are probably just about the same price as the box colors in the store. But the difference is a box color is just, somebody, whoever, whoever put that together, have determined that, what the tones that I'm telling you I've used are gonna work for you. If three brunettes go into a store and get box dye and apply it to their hair, you're gonna have 3 different results. That's the reason I don't promote box dyes. There is a science to it for a reason. So when I tell you the things that I've done to make it work on this hair, there's so many different factors. The most important, at least that I can think of right now to share with you, would be what level is the hair that you're starting with, and what condition. Is it virgin, or is it a color that got it to that level? That's going to be a big, huge factor in what you decide to do. Also, the type of hair. So coarse hair and fine hair are going to process in different angles. So that's why I'm really cautious not to tell you too much about the processing time, because it is going to be different. And the best thing I can tell you is to just check it often. Check your processing often. I guess those are the biggest things, just in being aware of what level system means and the color system and knowing neutralizing tones. I just hope that this helps for those of you who are almost, right there. You want to try something out, or maybe a very similar color to my hair that I purchased, and so you think it might turn out the same. Test the nape and go from there. I'm just going to go ahead and leave you with these pictures. This is how my hair turned out in different lights, different angles. At first, you can see I thought it was really dark, and then I got it out in some natural sunlight, and I decided I really like the lightness. I think I am just going to leave it as it is. And again, this is a reminder of where it came from and where I got it to. Please ask me with any questions. Good luck.